Good afternoon, everyone. So, okay, so last day we have started our general science, okay, and we were discussing about cell. Okay. So, what we have discussed till now, we have seen one basic thing, that is about what is cell. We have seen it is the structural, functional, and self-sustaining unit of life. We have seen why it is called as structural, why it is called as functional, why it is also called as self-sustaining. So we discussed this one part. Then we started discussing this one thing, that any cell which is there, it is having three basic components. One is genetic material, one is the cytoplasm, and then we have plasma membrane. These are the three things which we have initially discussed, that these are the parts of the cell. Okay. Then we have discussed a little bit about the genetic material, that what is the responsibility of genetic material. This is one part which we have discussed so far. Now in genetic material section, the things which we are going to discuss, that what is DNA, what is RNA, and what are their different types. We will discuss this one part. Here we will look at only this one thing, like what is the function of them. When we will see the biotechnology, then we will see the different sugar base and each and everything with respect to DNA and RNA. Okay. So here we are mainly concerned about this one part, that in cell, what is the role of these DNA and RNA. We will talk about this one section. Then again about their structure, how they replicate, what is transcription, what is reverse transcription. That is something which we will discuss when we are talking about biotechnology. So let us discuss about these things first, that what is DNA and then what is RNA, how they are different, what is their responsibility. Then we will talk about cytoplasm, cell membrane, and all the other components of cell, plus also the classification of cell. So we will discuss all these topics in today's class. So yes, so let us start. First thing which we are going to talk about is with respect to this genetic material. And in genetic material, we have two main things. One is the DNA and one is RNA. So we will try to understand that what is the difference between them, how they are different from each other, what is the role of them. And if you understand this one part, then when we are talking about biotechnology, when we are talking about this applications of DNA and RNA, then it will be quite easy for you. If you have to look at the gene editing, if you have to look at any of these sections, or how vaccines are made, how viruses works, how anything works, if you understand their role, if you understand DNA and RNA, for all these topics you will have clarity. So let us see this one part. In case of any cell, suppose if we are having any cell, it is having some amount of genetic material. These genetic materials, the main genetic material is in the form of DNA, which is simply called as deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay. So why it is called deoxyribonucleic acid? Any idea? It is because of the sugar. It is because of the sugar. In the case of DNA, we have deoxyribose sugar as the base, and then there are four nitrogenous compounds, ATCG. Okay, adenines, cytosine, thymine, guanine. Okay. These are the compounds, the nitrogenous compounds, which is there in the case of DNA. We will discuss them later, like how they pair, how these pairs like also detach, or how do we do the DNA polymorphism or other things. We will see it later in biotechnology. Here we are mainly concerned about their responsibilities. So when we talk about the DNA, if there is any cell, and when we see their main genetic material, that is what we call as DNA. It is the main genetic material of the body. Main genetic material. Why we are saying the main genetic material? Last day I told you a number of things about genetic material, like it is the memory drive, it is also the blueprint for the life, it is also telling us about the incidences of evolution and everything. It is the command center. All these activities are basically about DNA. Each and everything which we have discussed last day about genetic material is mainly about DNA. So whatever we have discussed so far about genetic material, that is all about DNA. But then how it is different from RNA? Let us try to understand this by one such example. Here we have a cell, and suppose here we are having the DNA of the cell. Now this is one such cell, and it is attacked by any such bacteria. Any such bacteria is coming and it is attacking this cell. It is trying to infect a cell of any organism, maybe humans, maybe anything else. This bacteria is trying to attack this cell. Now we have seen last day that any cell is also self-sustaining unit. It will try to fight, it will try to survive by itself. It will try to fight and survive by itself. So what it is going to do, this genetic material, this DNA, which is also the brain of the cell, it will try to evaluate, it will try to analyze this bacteria. It will go for analysis of this bacteria, like what this bacteria is made up of, what are its strength, what is the weakness of it. It is just like any country. If a country is being attacked by any of the aggressor, any of the adversary, what they do? They try to evaluate it. What is their strength? What is their weakness? So this cell, the DNA of this cell, it is going to analyze this bacteria. It is going to analyze this bacteria, that what is the strength of this bacteria, what is the weakness of this bacteria. On the basis of it, let us say this has identified that if we make a X type of protein, if we make a X type of protein, we would be able to remove this bacteria. We would be able to remove this bacteria or kill this bacteria. We need a X, like the antidote, the antibody for this bacteria. We need this X protein. Now protein making in any cell, later on also we see that in any cell the task of making protein is with ribosome. Ribosome is considered as the protein making factory of the cell. But this ribosome has to be given some instruction. It has to be given a code for manufacturing of this protein. DNA will not be carrying this task of creating the protein by itself. DNA will send a message. DNA is going to send a message, and that message is going to go in the form of a type of RNA which is called as messenger RNA. It is called as the messenger RNA. So messenger RNA, or simply this one RNA, is simply an instruction. It is just an instruction that you have to make a particular type of protein. How much protein, what quantity, what quality, what formula, all these things are going to get into this ribosome with the help of messenger RNA. So that is one RNA created by the DNA for the purpose of giving the instruction. Now this ribosome will start making the protein, but for making the protein, it requires certain things, like it will require amino acids. It will require the amino acids. It will require other raw material for manufacturing of the protein. It needs the raw material also. So for the raw material part, we have another RNA, which is the RNA, transfer RNA. This transfer RNA is going to acquire all the raw materials, and it is going to provide it to the ribosome. So transfer RNA has this one role. It is going to arrange the raw materials for the production of the protein. So that is the second work of this RNA. So one type of RNA was messenger RNA, which was just acting as a messenger. Second RNA was transfer RNA, tRNA, which is acting as the transport It is acting as the transport services. It is transporting the raw materials to this ribosome. It is already there in cytoplasm. It is already present there in cytoplasm, and it is transferring the raw material to the ribosome. So it has got the formula. Now it has got the raw material. The third thing which it has to do is to now prepare the protein. So there is a requirement of something which can help in protein synthesis, and that is the third type of RNA, which is called as rRNA or ribosomal RNA. So ribosomal RNA is going to manufacture those proteins. So RNA, if you look at this is the ribosomal RNA. What is the duty of this? It is going to manufacture that protein. So RNA is not an equivalent of DNA. DNA is the central command center. RNAs are basically the helping hand of DNA. DNA creates RNA for carrying out the different works of the cell. Messenger RNA was for passing the information. Transfer RNA was for arranging the raw materials, and ribosomal RNA was for the synthesis of the protein. So there are three different types of RNA. If you simply see RNA, it is simply called as ribonucleic acid. We know that it is a genetic material. But what is the role of this genetic material? There are different types and they have different roles. Three different types of RNA: messenger, transfer, and ribosomal RNA. They all have different duties. DNA is the command center. It is commanding, it is making all of them. It is commanding and making all of them. So that's why DNA is a much more greater like a command authority. RNAs are simply the executive wing of it. They are just carrying out the task which has been decided by the DNA. They are made by DNA and they work as per the instructions of DNA. So this is one part. What is the difference between DNA and RNA? DNA is the main genetic like material, and RNAs are basically executing the different works of the cell. They are helping in executing all the different works of the cell. When the cell has to divide also, when the cell has to take any work, there will be use of messenger RNA. Messenger RNA is what? It is the postal service. It is giving the information. It is carrying out the message. Then we have this transfer RNA carrying out the task of transferring material, and ribosomal RNA, a special RNA which is present within the ribosome. And what it does? A simple work, protein synthesis. Now one more thing here itself. When we talk about protein, what is the use of protein? Like in our body, what is the use of protein? Sorry? Cell, okay. Anything else? What is the use of bodybuilding? What is the use of protein in our body? See, if we talk about what is protein, basically protein is life, life is protein. Okay. Why it is said? Each and everything which takes place in our body is because of protein. If you have enzymes, enzymes is protein. If you have hormones, hormones is protein. RNA is protein, DNA is protein, they are all combinations of protein. If you feel the pain, it is because of protein. If you don't feel the pain, it is because of protein. If you do any task, in the body, it is because of protein. If you are not able to do any task in the body, it is also because of protein. Proteins are the medicines, proteins are the problems. Proteins help the bacteria in attacking the cell. Proteins help the body in defeating the bacteria. So proteins are the basic chemical units which are running the life. They are the basic units which are running the life. Suppose if you are having a pain, if you are suppose running and if you are having a pain, it is just because some proteins is there and these proteins are causing the pain for you. when you use the medicines are also releasing a type of protein which will help in reactivating that. When you are attacked by any such bacteria or virus or anything, they make proteins. And when you fight them with your own antibodies or with medicine, it is a protein. So blood type also which you see, the different blood types you see, that A plus or B plus, A positive, B positive, AB negative, these are all proteins. The antibodies to these blood types, that is also protein. So protein is the entire part of the body. So when we say what is the role of DNA and RNA, and there you can relate that why we are saying just the protein synthesis. We are saying protein synthesis because protein synthesis is the main work of the cell. Why we have not said any other thing? We have said just this protein synthesis. We have just talked about the protein synthesis. Every work in the cell is because of the proteins. All and every activities, they are carried out by the proteins. That's why we have related DNA and RNA to the proteins. So that is why protein is the most important part. All the enzymes which you see, they are called as enzymes, but when you see the basic structure, they are proteins. The hormones are proteins, all the chemical signals in our brain are proteins. So everything is protein. In short, every part of the body, the DNA, the genetic material is what? It is also a protein. So this is one thing. So this is first part. I hope it is clear what is DNA and what is RNA. Okay. All of those who are in this part of online, is it clear to you what is DNA and RNA? If it is clear, write a little bit about this. Chale, write about this. First, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. It is the main genetic material. It is the main genetic material of any cell. It is the main genetic material of any cell which is responsible for commanding the different activities of the cell. For commanding the different activities of cell. There is one suggestion at 30% Hindi. Okay, I will speak a sentence of 10 words in which I will use 3 Hindi words. Okay, wherever you feel difficulty, tell me, I will explain in Hindi also, Sanskrit also. Okay. Now, write this one part. It is the commanding authority of the cell. Second part, it acts as the blueprint of life, and also it acts as the blueprint of life and also is responsible for evolution. So we are writing it in brief because we have already written about genetic material. So everything which is there applies to DNA also. So that's why we are writing in brief. Next, write about this RNA. Achha, write one thing here. In all the eukaryotic cells, just write one thing. In all the eukaryotic cell, we will see this later that what is eukaryotic. In all the eukaryotic cell, most of the DNA is present in nucleus. In eukaryotic cell, most of the DNA is present in nucleus. Most means 99%. Okay. So most of the DNA is present in nucleus. Now write about RNA. RNA are of three types. RNA are of three types. First, messenger RNA. First one is messenger RNA. First one is messenger RNA. In this, you can write, it is responsible for providing the instructions it is responsible for providing the instructions to cell organelles. Cell organelles like ribosome, mitochondria and all others, they are called as cell organelles. Okay. To the cell organelles, it is created by DNA through a process called as transcription. It is created by the DNA through a process called as transcription. Transcription. The name of the process of RNA synthesis or RNA creation is transcription. Okay. Write the second one, transfer RNA. Transfer RNA. tRNA. It is found in the cytoplasm. It is found in the cytoplasm and it is found in the cytoplasm and is responsible for providing raw materials such as amino acids and is responsible for providing raw materials such as amino acids to ribosome. Next part, ribosomal RNA. It is present within ribosome. And it is responsible for synthesis of protein. It is responsible for synthesis of protein through a process called as translation. For synthesis of protein through a process called as translation. So there is one process called as transcription, there is another process called as translation. So transcription is creation of RNA, translation is synthesis of protein through the RNA. So messenger RNA is also controlling. Just to add one information here, last year in September or October, there was this Nobel Prize for Medicine, which was provided for not mRNA, microRNA. It was provided for microRNA, miRNA or microRNA. So just to give you an idea like how this all works, suppose that we have this series of DNA. We are having this as DNA. This DNA has created a piece of RNA. This one is going to lead to creation of certain structures like protein. Now, in the section of RNA, let us say this is one part. In the part of this mRNA, we are having one section. This one section, it is called as the brain of the mRNA. Within the mRNA structure, there is a smaller section which is called as microRNA. This microRNA controls this process. It is controlling that process. So it is controlling how much, when this process will start, how much quantity is going to be produced, and how much, after what time or after how much production this is going to stop. So this microRNA controls the expression of messenger RNA. It is controlling the expression of messenger RNA. What was the purpose of messenger RNA? To help in protein creation. That was the work. Messenger RNA was created by this DNA. For what purpose? Purpose was simply to have protein synthesis. Now in that section, in the messenger RNA itself, there will be a part of it which will be acting as the brain of mRNA. This is going to control that when the process of protein synthesis is going to start, how much quantity of protein is going to be produced, and when this is going to be stopped. Means the activation of the gene and the silencing of the gene is going to be controlled by this microRNA. Now think about this. Most of our activities, most of our medicines are basically trying to have this mRNA. Most of our medicines are trying to create this messenger RNA. In that, there is one section, microRNA. MicroRNA can control that how much protein is going to be manufactured, when it is going to start, when it is going to stop. If someone is telling about the role about microRNA, so it deserves a Nobel Prize. That's why Nobel Prize was given. Okay. The Nobel Prize was given for this very purpose, that it is telling how the messenger RNA is going to work, how much it is going to work, when it is going to stop. It is telling about all these things. That's why it received this Nobel Prize. Okay. So in note somewhere you can write this one thing, microRNA. MicroRNA is the part of messenger RNA. MicroRNA is the part of messenger RNA which controls the gene expression. Which controls the gene expression. Which controls the gene expression. It regulates the process. It regulates the process, quantity. It regulates the process, quantity, and time. Process, quantity, and time of protein synthesis. It regulates the process, quantity, and time of protein synthesis. But how this process will be done, plus how much quantity will be produced, at what time it will start, and when it is going to stop. So in fact, you can understand this is the controlling center of messenger RNA. Okay. So these are the three different things, that what is RNA, what is DNA, okay, what is this microRNA. Any confusion in this part? Now just to give you one more thing here, there are certain things like gene, genome, chromosome. There are three things. One is called a gene, one is called a genome, one is called as chromosome. From time to time these terms will be coming, and you won't have to get confused about them, that what are these things. So if we look at this, Suppose we have a cell. In the cell, there is going to be nucleus. This part is the nucleus. Inside it, we have the DNA. I am still making a clear picture. If you see the actual DNA, you will not be able to see it. Okay. It is so much entangled that you will not be able to see it. Okay. It is highly entangled. Now, if we look at this one DNA, if we are taking this one DNA, it is double helical structure. So, one single part of it, like suppose we are taking this one single part, it is the gene. Okay. It is the gene. So, when we are taking the entire DNA out of that one single section, it is called as gene. Now, suppose if there is a person, this person is having many cells. Okay. This person is having many cells. Most of the genetic data will be identical. But here, when we talk about the genome, it means collection of all genetic data, which will include DNA, RNA, proteins, etc. All these things will be combined together, called as genome. So, when we say about human genome, like suppose when we are talking about the genome of one single person, it means in that person, all the cells which are there, all their genetic material combined together forms the genome. The entire DNA, entire RNA, each and everything, that is genome. We have been able to identify genome of 10,000 individuals in India. Means we have collected the genome of 10,000 individuals in India under the Genome India project. And not only in India, across the world, we have got various genome projects which are trying to read means to is like understand the genome data of different organisms, including humans. We have been able to decipher less than 10 to 20% of genome data. Around 80% of data is still unknown to us. So, that is one part. We know only about 10 to 15% about our body, and here we means the elite scientific community, not we. We don't even know about 1%. Okay. The elite scientific community that knows hardly 10 to 15% about the human genome. Okay. So, this is one part about the data. Now, there is also one thing called as chromosome. Now, just to give you an idea that what is chromosome. Suppose one day you have decided that you have to come to Delhi for UPSC preparation. Okay. That was one day, and then you are here today. Okay. So, that one day when you decided that you have to go anywhere for preparation of UPSC, or suppose even if you are going somewhere to have a vacation or anything, or if you are returning back home for any holiday, any festival, in all that case, it's not like you are taking the entire bed sheet and then like keeping all your clothes in there, just like binding it from all sides and then take it to the home directly. Yeah. What do? You properly pack it. Yeah. You have a proper suitcase or a bag in which you fold all your clothes. It's not that it is one like shirt is hanging on this one hand, another shirt you have kept on shoulders. Okay. One pant is there in another hand, and then all other things. It's not that you are carrying all of them individually in the hand. What do you do generally? You pack your bags. Generally, you are packing your bags in a proper manner. So, same thing happens with cell also. When the cell has to divide, it cannot go like this. If the cell has to divide, they have to first fold their entire DNA materials in an organized manner. So, in this case, what they do, they condense this entire DNA data in simple forms. And these simple forms, the condensed form of DNA, the condensed form of DNA, this is simply what we call as chromosome. So when we talk about what is chromosome, it is simply the condensed form of the DNA. But it will be present only during certain times when you have to go out or when you have to do some task. It's not that when you will come to your home, you will keep it in folded manner. I know many of you are living in PG or hostels or in your rooms. So when you come back from your home or when you go back to your home, what do? You throw one shirt here, one pant there, one towel there. Okay. So in this manner, you keep things at home. So when the cell is in normal condition, it is having genetic material in this manner. But when it has to divide, it like properly arranges its genetic material in a condensed form, and that condensed form of DNA is what we call as chromosomes. So that is the only difference between all these things. There is one thing called a gene, the basic unit. Genes combined together, they form what we call as DNA. These DNAs, when they are condensed together, they form what? Chromosome. And when we talk about genome, it means all the genetic data, DNA, RNA, proteins and everything combined together, that is what we call as genome. So genome is the largest unit. Genome is the largest unit. Then you have, of course, like DNA. Okay. Then you have genes. RNAs are completely different. We have just discussed RNAs are created for some specific task. Okay. So RNAs are created for a specific task. If you want to arrange them in chronology, you can do like this: genome, then you have on one side DNA, on another side you can have RNA. In middle of it, you can also keep some proteins. In the DNA, we have one smaller unit, gene. Now, this DNA, in some special phase, it also becomes chromosome, only during the time of cell division, when the cell is dividing. So that is some of the basics parts of this genetics, that what all are there inside our body. So this is one segment of the cell, that what is the genetic material. Now we are coming to another section. There is one thing called as plasma membrane. When we are talking about any cell, we see that inside it we have the genetic material and there is a boundary. This plasma membrane is basically a boundary which has facilitated the growth of the cell. Why? Because if there is no plasma membrane, there is no cytoplasm. If there is no cytoplasm, there is no cell. So plasma membrane is the one which is mandatory for any living cell. Without plasma membrane, there is no cell. So always keep this one thing in mind. In UPSC in 2020 prelims, there was this one question which was saying plant cell have cell walls but they don't have plasma membrane. That will be wrong. Any cell if it is there, it is going to have plasma membrane. Bacteria will have plasma? Yes or no? Bacteria will have plasma or not? It is also going to have plasma membrane. Human cell? Virus? Why not virus? Because they are not cell. So keep this one thing in mind. Viruses are not considered cell because they are not having plasma membrane. So this is one thing. Plasma membrane, it is there in all the living cells. That is one basic thing. Now, what is the duty of this? What is the responsibility? What is the responsibility? First of all, it separates the cell from its surrounding. It is separating the cell from the surrounding. When the life started on earth, it started in water. And in that medium, there was a requirement of separation from the nearby areas. And that separation was provided by plasma membrane. It is a boundary which separates the cell from its surrounding. It is a boundary which is separating it. That is one part. Second thing, it is a boundary or it is a membrane which also allows the entry or exit of certain substances, but in a controlled manner, in a very selective manner. So it is also called as selectively permeable membrane. Permeable means it will allow the entry or exit of substances. So it is called as selective permeable membrane. It will choose what to be sent inside, what has to be removed from the cell. It is selective permeable, semi-permeable. Means it allows certain things to go inside, it doesn't allow certain things to go inside the cell. See simply this one thing. If a bacteria is there in the water body, there are certain things which may be good for bacteria. There may be certain things which is bad for bacteria also. If the plasma membrane of the bacteria allows each and everything to enter the cell, what will happen to the cell? It will burst, it will collapse. So this boundary is also prohibiting the entry of multiple substances. So it is called as a living membrane. It is not a dead part. It is not just an ordinary boundary. It is a living membrane because it is able to change. It is able to also modify what is allowed inside the cell, what is not allowed inside the cell. So that is also its responsibility. Its responsibility is to select materials which are going to be inside the body or not. That is one part. This plasma membrane can also change the shape and size of the cell as per requirement. It can change the shape and size of the cell as per requirement. Like you may have seen amoeba. Where have you seen amoeba? Where have you seen amoeba? In the books you may have seen, in images you may have seen, may not have seen amoeba until unless you have a very well functional lab in your school or college. Last time most of the people told me that they are not from bio. So I don't expect you to see amoeba in computers. That in going for EC you are also seeing, in history you are being taught about amoeba Bonaparte. It is not like that. So here you are not seeing amoeba in the lab. So when we talk about the amoeba, when it has to eat certain things, suppose it has got a food. So what it does, it changes its shape and size. It changes its shape and size so it can ingest it and then it will close. First, it will change its body shape so that this food item can enter inside. And then what it will do? Then this food will be inside, it will again change its shape. So this is what amoeba is doing. And amoeba is able to do it with the help of its plasma membrane. So plasma membrane also helps in changing the shape and size of the cell as per the requirement. So this is one such thing. This is an active living membrane which is helping the cell to survive and also exchange materials with the surrounding. So that is one simple work of plasma membrane. Now we have the third part, cytoplasm. So in any cell, after the nucleus and after this plasma membrane, the inside of it, the each and everything which you see here, each and everything which is there apart from plasma membrane and genetic material, that is basically cytoplasm. So when you have asked me what about mitochondria, what about other things, so they are all basically part and parcel of cytoplasm. So cytoplasm may have certain things, cytoplasm may not have certain things. Mostly in unicellular, sometimes in multicellular also. For example, RBC, red blood cell of humans. So suppose that we have a red blood cell, it has to pass through our veins. Generally, you will find that the red blood cells, if they are normal, the normal red blood cells, they are very soft and flexible. They are soft and flexible. In normal, they are oval shaped, but they can become elongated also if they have to pass through the narrow veins. Okay. So this is one part. Normally, it is there in unicellular because unicellular needs it more. In case of multicellular, in some special cells, there can be somewhat flexibility. But think about this. What will happen if our bone cells start to change? If our bone cells are also changing as per the situation, so what will happen then? When you are standing, your bones will become flat. You may have seen some Tom and Jerry and everything. And when they fall, they become flat. Okay. So if our cells are completely flexible, if our cells become completely flexible like that, so when you are falling from the sky, you won't be hurt. You won't be breaking your bones. It will simply spread over the surface and then you can again start. So that might have been very much good. Okay. Maybe we would have all the flexibility and everything, but unfortunately we don't have. Okay. So that was a loss. Okay. Now, if we talk about the cytoplasm, each and everything which is there inside the cell apart from this nucleus and plasma membrane, that is all cytoplasm. Okay. In this cytoplasm, what you have? In the cytoplasm, we have water. The majority part is water. We have amino acids. We have the carbohydrates. We have the proteins. We have the fats. We have all other minerals, plus some cell organelles. So when we are talking about the cytoplasm, it is mainly made up of water. That is why it is said that the life started in water, it is existing because of water, and the time when water will cease to exist, life will also cease to exist. Okay. This is one part. If you see the human body also, the majority part of our body, what it is made up of? Water. Our blood also, what it is made up of? Water. If you see our cells also, the majority part of the cell is made up of water. So the entire thing which you see on the earth, a significant portion of them is water, especially the living organisms. So here also what we see that in the case of cell, in the cytoplasm, there is water, amino acids, carbohydrates, fats, proteins. Then we have the minerals and some cell organelles. They are forming the entire structure of the cell. In the cytoplasm, what we are going to see, there are many cell organelles which have their distinct role. Cytoplasm is just the combination of all of them. But there are individual parts of cytoplasm which are performing different roles. So we are going to see them one by one. Okay. So first thing, in this cytoplasm, we have one thing, your favorite of all times. Mitochondria. There is one thing which everyone remembers about this thing. Everyone knows the name, okay, that it is the powerhouse of the cell. Okay. So what is the role of this mitochondria? Now let me tell you one thing. It is believed that mitochondria was initially an organism. Okay. Mitochondria was initially an organism which has gone inside a bacteria, and that led to evolution of another set of organism which evolved as eukaryotics. Okay. So that is the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic also. If you see the mitochondria, it is believed that it might be a living organism which has entered inside this cell, and then later on it has become part of the cell itself. So that is why in some of the organisms there is no mitochondria. In the prokaryotics like bacteria, there is no such presence of mitochondria. But in eukaryotic organism, most of the cells have mitochondria. There are certain exceptions, but most of the cells have mitochondria. This is one thing. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. We all know that, powerhouse. Now, what is the main role of it? It is creating the energy. It is creating the energy through the Krebs cycle or the metabolic process. That is the simple role. Whatever food is being taken up by the cell, it is trying to convert it into what type of energy? There is also that famous name, ATP. And what is ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. So we all have heard this one thing, that it is making the energy. It is making the energy in the form of ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. So what is adenosine triphosphate? It is a chemical. It is not an energy. Adenosine triphosphate is a chemical. It is a chemical compound. So when we see that it is making energy in form of adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate. It is a chemical compound. So what is the cell doing? Whatever food it is having, it is converting it in the form of a chemical which is called as adenosine triphosphate. So how the cell is getting the energy then? Now see, whenever cell has to perform some task, this is a stored chemical energy. Like you have inverters and you have batteries. In batteries, what we do? We convert the electrical energy in form of chemical energy. And when we need it back, the same chemical energy is converted back in the form of electrical energy. So here what the cell is doing, whatever food we have got, they have converted it in form of this adenosine triphosphate or chemical energy. And the cell is able to use this chemical energy in different forms. If the cell want heat, it will convert that chemical energy into heat energy. If cell has to give some, like gain some motility, if they have to move also, so they will use that chemical energy to convert it in form of kinetic energy. If they have to manufacture some protein, for that purpose, if they need anything, they will convert that chemical energy in that form. So this is a stored potential energy. Stored potential energy or chemical energy, stored chemical energy. So this is stored in form of a chemical energy, and then we are converting it. It's just like the inverter and battery, that they have stored this in the form of chemical energy, and whenever they want to use it, they convert it in different forms. So that work is being done for us by the help of inverter. The cell is not having inverter, but it is able to convert it. Yeah. So without inverters also, they are able to convert the chemical energy in different forms. So this is the working of cell. Now see this one more part. That is half side of mitochondria. In the present times, for your exam, mitochondria is not important for powerhouse. UPSC is not so much kind to you. They will not ask that mitochondria is powerhouse or not. If they ask this question, cutoff will be 190 out of 200. Okay. So then that will be much more challenging. Okay. So here there is one part. This mitochondria is having DNA. Just remember this one part. When we were writing about DNA, I told you that 99% or most of the DNA is within the nucleus. The remaining portion here is in mitochondria. Okay. So that is also suggesting that mitochondria may have been an organism in the past. It is having its own genetic material. Okay. This mitochondria is also having its own ribosome. Okay. So this mitochondria is having on DNA, it is having on ribosome. Now, it's not that it is completely independent from nucleus. It will work as per the nucleus. It cannot defy the nucleus, but it is having some of its own capacities. It is like an autonomous hilly district. Okay. In polity, you may have seen in various states of India, there is a concept of autonomous hilly districts, like in West Bengal, in case of Assam, in other states. Have you read about it or not? Autonomous hilly districts and all. So that is the autonomous unit within the cell. It is that having its own DNA, having its own ribosome. So this is one part about mitochondria. We will see one more thing with respect to it in later part. In biotech, we will see this one segment. Nowadays, there is a new therapy which is called as mitochondrial replacement therapy. See, it is having DNA. If DNA is having defect, will it go in the next generation or not? So this mitochondrial DNA can become a source of genetic problems in the future generation. In order to change that, in order to remove that defect, we sometimes change the mitochondria itself. Okay. That is one therapy which we will see later. And this is one part from where question has been asked one time already, and in the future also there will be question on this. Okay. This mitochondrial replacement therapy, it has also given to a rise to a new concept called as 3-parent baby. Okay. There is a new concept called as 3-parent baby. So that is also arising from this mitochondria. So in the UPSC exam, you will be getting questions from this part, that it is having some DNA, and this DNA defect can lead to some problems. Okay. Let me explain it a little bit here. Okay. Just a little bit part of it. In case of humans, we see that there is a requirement of two things, sperm and ovum cells. Okay. So here also there is nucleus, here also nucleus. Here is also mitochondria. Now, if suppose this mitochondria is defective, so then in this case, if a child is going to be born from them, this let's say N1, N2, M1, M2. So what we are going to see that this child is going to have N1 plus N2, and what will be here? M1 plus M2 or M1 or M2? It will always be M2. Okay. It is always going to be M2. Means mitochondria is only transferred from the mother cell. Mitochondria is not transferred from the father cell. Okay. The father cell is destroyed in the process. It is destroyed in the process, only the nucleus is transferred. There is transfer of only nucleus. All other things are coming from the mother. So if there is a genetic defect because of mitochondria, it will be coming from whom? It will always be coming from the mother. So in this case, there is an option that we can change this mitochondria. We can change it. Okay. But how do we change it? We take a donor egg. We take a donor egg or the ovum cell, and suppose here we have N3 and M3. This is a donor cell. So in this case, what do? We keep this M3, but this N3 is removed. So now it is empty. Then we transfer the N2 to this area. It will have M3 plus N2. Means mitochondria will be coming here from the donor, and nucleus will be coming from mother. So in this case, we are removing the nucleus from the donor. From the egg cell of the donor, we are removing the nucleus, we are keeping the mitochondria. Why we have not just changed the mitochondria? We can also do this one thing, that remove M2 from here and transfer the M3. So why we are not doing it? Nucleus is having 99% of the DNA, and nucleus is not going to accept any foreign substance. There is a simple rule of body: nothing can come into the body from outside. Nothing extra can come, nothing foreign can come inside the body. When you take the medicine also, it is rejected by the body. 85% of the medicine is rejected from the body, only there is absorption of 10 to 15%. So when you go to doctor, why they say 10 doses? 10 doses combined together will become 1. Okay. Because it is always 10% at one time, 10 to 15%. Remaining 80 to 85% is removed from the body. Body doesn't accept medicine. Medicine is a foreign chemical. Body doesn't accept that. So whenever you are taking a medicine, your body is rejecting it, and certain part of the body is dying in the process. Like whenever you are taking a medicine, certain cells of the liver die in the process of removing that medicine. So in the same manner, if we transfer the M3 to M2, the cell will reject it, remove it, and the cell will also be dead. Because cell need a powerhouse. Powerhouse is gone, the cell will also be dead. Now, if this N2, if it is going to this empty cell, it will have some resistance from mitochondria. But think about this, it is having 99% DNA, even more than that, and it is having 1%. So it is like defending an army of 1 lakh with 100%. Can they do it? Okay. If there is an army of 1 lakh and there is only 10 people who are standing, can they defend? They will simply become part of them. Okay. So that is one thing which happens here also, that this nucleus has come, it has invaded this cell, and still it will be able to hold this cell because it is the superpower here. It is having 99% of DNA here. So now it will be matching with N1, and we will finally see that a cell will be created which will have N1, N2, and M will be 3. So you can see one genetic material is from father, one from mother, and one from donor. So genetic material from 3 parents, that's why it is called as 3-parent baby. So this is one thing which we will see later. But here in the case of mitochondria, you have to keep this one thing in mind. Apart from being the powerhouse of the cell, it is also having DNA, it is also having ribosome. That is one part. Write a little bit about this, then we will see the next part. Write first about plasma membrane. First, write about this plasma membrane thing. Plasma membrane is a semi-permeable. Plasma membrane is a semi-permeable and selective permeable membrane. Semi-permeable and selective permeable membrane. It allows entry or exit. It allows entry or exit of selected substances. It allows entry or exit of selected substances in limited quantity. It is also a living membrane. It is also a living membrane. It means it can modify as per the requirement. It means it can modify as per the requirement of the cell. It is made up of lipids. It is made up of lipids. Lipid means fat and proteins. Okay. It is made up of lipids. So this is one part about plasma membrane. Next thing, cytoplasm. Cytoplasm provides the support. Cytoplasm provides the support to shape and size of. Cytoplasm provide support to the shape and size of the cell. To the shape and size of the cell. What is the meaning of this? See, if you are having a boundary, if you are having a genetic material, but nothing is present inside it, so will it remain in the same shape and size? It needs something inside it. So it needs that one thing inside it, which is cytoplasm. So it is supporting the shape and size of the cell. Okay. Write this next point. It consists mainly of water. It consists mainly of water, fats, proteins, and other minerals. It is also allowing the exchange of materials. It is also allowing the exchange of materials. The exchange of materials between the different cell organelles. Between the different cell organelles. Now, in the cell organelles, we are going to write about the first one, that is, give a subheading of cell organelle, and end at the first one. The first one, which is mitochondria. The first one, which is mitochondria. Write about this. It is the powerhouse of the cell. As usual, it is the powerhouse of the cell. It is responsible for energy generation through a cycle through a process called as Krebs cycle. Through a process or through a cycle called as Krebs cycle. We don't have to read about what is Krebs cycle, how the 7 different stages are there. You don't have to go in detail of that. Until unless you are preparing for NEET also this year. Okay. What is the marks in NEET? 720, right? 720. And how many means papers are there? One paper. One paper of 720 marks. How many questions are there? 480. 180. They give 4-5 hours for exam. Like how much time they provide for 180 questions? 3 hours only. They are super efficient. Like one question per minute. See, UPSC is much more better and simple exam. You can have like, you have to solve only 50 questions. That is sufficient. Okay. So think about this. You should get the inspiration from there. See, your like younger brothers and sisters are solving 180 questions in 180 minutes. You have to solve only like 50 questions in 120 minutes. Take the inspiration from them. And many of them are like getting 720 marks also. Okay. You have to score half of that. Like if you are scoring only 100 marks, that is sufficient for you. It is much more on the easier side. Write a little bit about this mitochondria. It is storing, it is storing, it is storing the energy, it is storing the energy in form of adenosine triphosphate. It is storing the energy in form of adenosine triphosphate. In bracket you can write chemical energy. Write down one more thing. Mitochondria consists of its own DNA. Mitochondria consists of its own DNA and ribosome. And ribosome. Okay. Now let's see the other cell organelles. When we talk about the cell, there is one thing called as this genetic material section. Okay. We have seen one section which is mitochondria. It is an elongated thing. In the same cell, we have other cell organelles also. Like we have one thing called as lysosome. We have another thing which is called as vacuole. We have one thing called as ribosome. We have a structure which is endoplasmic reticulum. We have another structure just beside this, a diffused one, which is called as Golgi apparatus. So we have one thing called as lysosome, vacuole, ribosome, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus. Apart from this, we will see other organelles also, but first let us talk about them. So you know about this lysosome here. When we talk about lysosome, it is again very much famous. It is called as the suicidal bag of the cell. Okay. But if we look at this lysosome, what is the actual work of lysosome? Cell is not doing suicide every day, or it is not killing itself every day. Okay. So in general, what we see that cell is responsible, this lysosome is responsible for the waste disposal within the cell. It is the municipality of the cell. Okay. So here we have the main work, that is waste disposal. Waste disposal, like suppose when it is making amino acids, protein and all other things. So in that some waste material is going to be generated. When there is so many organelles here, when there are so many things inside it, some of them are going to degrade after a time, some of them are going to be destroyed after some time. So there is a need of removal of all the waste of the cell. So that waste disposal system of the cell is lysosome. Second thing is, in adverse condition, when the cell is beyond repair, or when the cell has become quite much old, then it is going to kill that cell also. It is also going to kill the cell. Why does the cell kill itself? Why is the cell killing itself? See, there is one thing. When it has become too much old, it knows that it will not be able to survive. It is just like trying to survive, but the organs are not supporting. In that case, cell decides to go for the euthanasia. Okay. Like it is, when euthanasia is there in the case of cell, it may not be allowed directly, but cell is doing it. Okay. So then it goes for killing itself. There is second condition. Cell is also not selfish. It thinks about the community also. Okay. So suppose that The thing is here, like suppose there are many cells, one of them is infected. One of them is infected by a virus. And if the cell is able to recognize this infection, it is going to kill itself. Why it is killing? Because it knows that now I am not able to get rid of this virus. If this virus remains here, it is going to infect the nearby cells also. So in order to get rid of that virus or the bacteria, it is going to like destroy itself. The cell is destroying itself either when it has become too much old or when it has become damaged or infected to such a level that it cannot repair itself. It cannot get relief from that infection. In that case, it thinks about the community. It thinks about the community. It thinks about the nearby cells. And then it kills itself. Okay. The cell is also like trying to like protect its neighboring cell, and this happens on daily basis. See, there is a daily chance of any such infection in our body. When you are coming through the streets, there are multiple bacteria which are crawling over you. Okay. When you are eating something, when you are drinking some water, when you are even taking the like oxygen inside it, and when you are coming in these rainy weather conditions, in all these situations there are some bacteria, there are some viruses which are always going inside you. Okay. Even when you are sitting here, some bacteria are crawling over you. Okay. So in all these situations, our body is continuously fighting against these bacteria and infection. Many a times cells are killing themselves to get rid of these bacteria. Not only this, in every person there is a daily chance of developing cancer. Okay. There is a daily chance of developing cancer, but whenever that situation arises, cell kill itself. So there is a daily chance of having cancer, but most of the time people are not having cancer because cells are killing themselves. If they have become like mutated, they mostly kill themselves. This happens on daily basis inside our body. When it doesn't happen, then there is the disease. So multiple cells are fighting for you on daily basis. This is one part. Cells kill themselves in order to save the entire organization, in order to save the entire individual. So that is the work of lysosome. In general, waste disposal system. In adverse condition, the suicidal bag. So that is the first task of this lysosome. It is acting as the suicidal bag and the waste disposal system. It is created the enzymes which are there. It is using enzymes. Enzymes are what? Proteins. Okay. So it is creating these enzymes with the help of one thing called as Golgi apparatus. Okay. So Golgi apparatus is helping them to create the enzymes. So that is first part, the lysosome. Second part, we have one thing called as vacuole. So vacuole is basically the storage bag. Vacuole is basically the storage bag. Whenever you have excess amount of food, suppose you have gone out for taking the ration on the first day of month, you are purchasing 10 kg of rice, 10 kg of like pulses, 10 kg of vegetables, everything. So you have to store it somewhere. Whenever you are taking out certain, like when you are purchasing things or getting things, you are storing them. The cell is also having a storage bag. See, cell is a complete life. Cell is not just one part of the body. If you look at this, it is a complete life. There is a complete life of the cell. It is having all these things. Whatever you are doing, the same thing is being done by cell also on daily basis. The cell is also having its storage bag. Now tell me one part. Which type of cell will require more storage? Plants or animals? Why plants? They are absorbing the water from the ground. That is more challenging part. They are also getting food sometimes, not always. It's not necessary that the roots of the plants will always be able to absorb sufficient amount of nutrients from the ground or even water from the ground. Even if they are making the food, they have to store it, because later on they have to also produce the seeds on the basis of that food. So plants are having a bigger storage bag. If you see a plant cell, what you will find that the majority portion of the body of the plants is basically vacuole. Okay. The major portion of the, like 60 to 70% of the body of a plant is basically vacuole or the storage bag. One single large bag in which they store it all. So that is the work of the vacuole. In one single thing they are storing. In some animals or in some animal cells, there may be absence of vacuoles because they are always on movement. They can get food from anywhere. They can drink water from anywhere. We have polluted environment, but before the humans, if you see 10,000 years back, there was no such pollution in any river. There was no such pollution in any water body. So at that time, the cells which were there, the animals which were there, they have no such problem. They can take water from anywhere. They can get food from anywhere. They were not thinking that much that later on there will be one species called humans. Yeah. So all the problems which you see in the present times, it is just in the last 10,000 years. Before that, there was no such problem for any animal cell. They can survive easily. So for them, there is no such requirement of the storage bag. For animal cells, some of them are having no vacuoles. Some of them may be having some smaller vacuoles. Okay. More than one, more than two, multiple smaller vacuoles will be there. So that is one thing about plant and animal cell difference also. In plants, they have to store food. In animals, they don't have to. So that is second part, the storage bag of the cell, the vacuole. Now we have the third part, that is ribosome, the endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus. So let me tell you how these work. There is one thing called as ribosome. Ribosome is responsible for protein synthesis. Then after that, this protein reaches up to one body which is called as endoplasmic reticulum. This endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for modification in protein plus additional protein synthesis. And what we see that then after we have another structure which is the Golgi apparatus or Golgi bodies. What they do? They are responsible for packaging and delivery. Packaging plus delivery of proteins. So what is the packaging of proteins? Proteins are like, there is a creation of a capsule around the proteins. There is creation of a capsule around the proteins. So that is also being done by the Golgi apparatus. Plus they are also delivering it. The Golgi bodies are diffused in the cell. They have long networks. So they are able to provide this protein to different part of the cell. So ribosome responsible for protein synthesis. The endoplasmic reticulum, it is doing the modification in the protein. So it is basically the primary level of engineer. They are in quality control and they are in delivery. So that is the three different parts of the cell. One is first protein synthesis. They make the basic protein which is required by the body. If there is any modification, any change which has to be done, that is being done by the endoplasmic reticulum. They are modifying the protein as per the requirement. If any additional protein has to be made, that is also being done by the endoplasmic reticulum. And then the Golgi bodies, They are responsible for packaging these proteins and delivering it to the target sites. So that is the combined work of these three organelles. They are always working in coordination. If you see the location also, suppose this is our cell, this is the nucleus. Here you will find the Golgi apparatus. Related with that, you will find endoplasmic reticulum. On the endoplasmic reticulum itself, you will find that there is presence of certain things which are called as ribosome. So ribosomes are tiny structures which are present just on the endoplasmic reticulum. They are making the proteins. Their protein is being modified by the endoplasmic reticulum plus any additional protein and plus the Golgi bodies which is responsible for packaging and delivery of the proteins. So that is the combined work of these three organelles. They always work in tandem with each other, in coordination with each other. Okay. Now, I have told you one more role of the Golgi bodies. What it was doing additionally? It was creating enzyme for some part. We have just seen this is creating an enzyme, and this enzyme was for lysosome. It is also creating an enzyme for the lysosome. So that is one additional work of the Golgi bodies. They are also creating the enzymes for the lysosome. I hope these three things are clear. Just write first a little bit about this and then you can make this start. Okay. So first write about lysosome. In lysosome, write this one part. It is the waste disposal system. It is the waste disposal system of the cell. It is the waste disposal system of the cell. It is responsible for removal of the defective cell organelles, removal of the defective cell organelles and other waste products. And other waste products. Okay. In adverse condition, next point in this, in adverse condition, it bursts. In adverse condition, it bursts and releases enzymes which digests the entire cell, Then next part, vacuole. The next part of it, vacuole. It is the storage bag of the cell. It is the storage bag of the cell. It stores food. It stores food, waste products, water, etc. It stores food, waste product, water, etc. One more point, in plant cells, there is generally one large vacuole in plant cells there is generally one large vacuole, whereas in animal cells vacuoles may be absent, whereas in animal cells vacuole may be absent, or it may be present in several smaller sizes. Next, write about this one part, ribosome. Ribosome is responsible only for one thing. It is having only one duty. We have seen it earlier also. It is responsible for the protein synthesis. Okay. Once it does the protein synthesis, endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for modification in the protein plus additional protein synthesis. And third part, the Golgi bodies, they are responsible for packaging and delivery of proteins. Packaging means, like suppose if you have made a cake and if you have to bring it here, you will not bring it in hand. Okay. You will generally put it in a box and then you will bring it here. In same manner, if like a protein has been made, so that has to be properly like encapsulated. There is a capsule, it is like encapsulated, and then it is being sent to different locations. Like when you are eating the medicines, you are eating it in form of tablet or capsule. So tablet or capsule is just like that coating over it. It is not the actual medicine. The actual medicine lies inside it. So there is a coating over that. So in similar manner, if a protein is made inside the body, so there is a coating over that. Otherwise, protein can dissolve in cytoplasm also. It can interact with different part of cytoplasm also. So there is a proper coating over it, and then it is being sent to different locations. Okay. Protein synthesis, protein synthesis is the main function of ribosome. It is the only function of ribosome. Okay. It is the only function of ribosome. So these things are clear. You have noted down. Let's come to the next portion. Now, these are the 5 or 6 main organelles. Now, when we talk about the cell, in the case of plant cell, we see that there is some additional materials. There are certain additional things in the case of plant cell. In the case of plant cell, we have some difference. And there are two different things. There are two things which are quite different from the animal cell. One is the presence of a structure called as cell wall. One is presence of a structure called as cell wall. So why we are having the cell wall in plants? Why we are having this cell wall in the case of plants? Just take one example. If you have to stand for 12 hours per day, if you have to stand for just 12 hours per day without a single movement, you don't have to move, you don't have to sit, you don't have to do anything. You have to keep standing in one single position without movement for 12 hours only. Can you do that easily? Can you do it at all? Yes. If you have to stand for 24 hours, can you do that? 48 hours? Lifetime? So why we cannot do it? Suppose you try. Even if you try, what will happen? The cells which are in our body, the cells which are present in our body, they will start to get deformed. You think that your bone is very hard, but if you keep on standing for some period of time, you will find that the bone density is going to change. The density on the lower side of the bone will be higher, and on the upper side it will be lower. The density will change. Then your lower bone may be having some strength, but the upper bone will rupture. Means when you are even standing there, your bones will collapse. The bones can simply collapse from there. So what we see that for us, standing for these like long hours is not possible. Even if we see many animals also, like you see most of the animals, you will find that they are also taking rest after some period of time. Even if it is elephant, you will find that elephants also sits down. If there is any other animals, you will find that they also sit down after certain period of time. In some organisms, there is somewhat elasticity, but in most of the animals, you will find that they take rest. They cannot always be in a vertical position. There may be a few exceptions, but most of the animals cannot be in a single vertical position. This is not possible. But for the plants, there is no option. Once they have grown in an area, they have to remain there throughout their lifetime. There is no movement possible, okay, until unless some shift them to other places. Okay. Even if you shift them to other places, you are not taking them to your office daily or to your job daily or to your school daily. They are going to be fixed in one position. They always have to be standing there. So will that require extra strength? Okay. So their cells require extra strength, extra rigidity, and that is provided to them with the help of one extra structure, that is cell wall. Okay. When you see a plant, you will find that majority of the cell of the plants are dead. If you cut any old tree, you will find that inside that tree you will find a brownish or reddish structure. That is basically the dead cell of the plants. The brown or reddish structure, which is very hard, it is that like cell wall of that plant. The majority of the portion of the cell dies after some time, only the cell wall remains there. In case of any mature plant, the majority of cells inside the body is dead. They are simply standing with some of the upper portions as the living cell. The inner cells are dead, and they provide the rigidity, they provide the support without taking any nutrition. The inner part of the plants, they don't take any nutrition and still they provide the same support. So that is the role of them. They are made up of cellulose, and after certain period they are simply present there, providing the strength, the rigidity to the plants. Plus at the same time, many of these plants, they are also growing in the water like logging areas also. There is so much of water logging also. Animals have the option to move to different areas. Okay. Animals have the option to move to different areas, but plants don't have. So these cell walls, they are also preventing the cell from bursting. Otherwise the cell size become so much elongated, it will become so much huge that it will burst. If you have to check how it happens, try to stand in water for 6 hours. Okay. You will find that you will have some swelling on your skin. Okay. If you just want to check it, it is up to you. Okay. But don't take more than 6 hours. Okay. Like for 6 hours also, if you are keeping your legs, just your legs, not the entire body, just your legs inside the water, you can take a bucket of water, you can put your leg for 6 hours. Then after you will see that your skin has become swollen. Okay. Why? Because there is excess water inside your cells. So think about this. Plants have to remain in the water for a very long period of time. So in that situation, they want their cell to be in the same intact position. That can be provided with the help of cell wall. So that is also one thing. The cell wall is providing them that rigidity, that strength to stand in the same position throughout their life. It is also preventing the bursting of these cells. Otherwise, they will not be able to survive. So for any plant, cell wall is, that's why, very much important. So normally the cell wall is present in the plants. In some of the microorganisms, it may be present or may be absent. Like in some bacteria, there can be presence of cell wall. In some other bacteria, there can be absence of cell wall also. Similarly, in some other like microorganisms, apart from bacteria also, there might be presence of cell wall. So cell wall is mostly common in plants and some microorganisms. It is not found in animal cells. Okay. Animals are flexible. Animals have to also run. Now suppose if you see a plant running, so there will not be any flexibility. There is a movie also around this. You may have seen Guardians of the Galaxy perhaps. There is one in which the name of a plant like a structure is there. The name is root. Okay. So think about root running. Okay. So you can see this one thing, like if plants are running, they will not have that much flexibility. Okay. So suppose if you have got the cell walls, then your like elbow will not bend. Okay. Legs will not bend. So think about like running without your legs bending, like there is no bending of your legs, no bending of your hand. Okay. If you have to write like this. Okay. There will not be any bending. So that will be a tough challenge. Okay. So cell walls are good only for the plants. It is not good for the animals. Animals have to run, animals have to be flexible. So in that manner, they don't have the cell wall. Where there is no such requirement of flexibility, we have the strength in case of plants. In plants, they also have another challenge, food. They also require certain things like food. What do the animals do? What does the animals do? How do we get the food? Basically, all the organisms who are there, all the animals, including humans. Humans are animals. Okay. So if someone call you animal, you don't have to be offended. As per bio, everyone is an animal. Okay. So you don't have to be offended for that. So now, if we talk about animals, all the animals, whether they are herbivorous or carnivorous or anything, they depend on killing of other organisms like plants, or at least snatching something from them for their food. Even if you are eating just the fruits of a plant, fruits of plant was supposed to be a new plant. Okay. So when you are eating the fruits also, when you are eating the seeds also, like if you have eaten rajma, so you have killed one plant. Okay. Every beans which you have eaten, that is basically killing of a plant. Okay. Every like kavli chana and everything which you have eaten, there was a life inside it. Okay. So all the animals, all the humans depend upon some plants for their food. But for the plants, this flexibility is not there. Plants are not eating the animals. Okay. Most of the plants, they are not eating the animals, or they are not dependent upon. There are some exceptions. Okay. We will talk about insectivorous plants. Okay. So most of the plants are not eating the animals. So they have a problem, they have to manufacture their own food. And for manufacturing their own food, they need a structure within their cell. So that structure is coming in form of plastids, which contains chloroplast. So in the case of chloroplast, they have one thing called as chlorophyll. This chlorophyll is responsible for trapping the solar energy, and using the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, using the solar energy, using the water, they manufacture their own food. So that is one thing which is present only in plants and some microorganisms. Okay. So here when we see plants, they have got the plastids. Like in plastids, one of the part is chloroplast. So this is responsible for the food making. This is responsible for food making, trapping the sunlight and manufacturing of food. There is another part of it, which is called as chromoplast. Wherever the word chromo is there, it means color. The word chromo suggests color. So why do the plants need the color? Why are the plants colorful? Like chlorophyll is providing them green color, but why are the plants colorful? They also have to attract insects and other pollinating agents for the process of pollination. They also have to carry out the process of pollination. The chromoplast is providing the different colors to the flowers of the plants so that they can attract the insects. So from here you can understand one thing. All the colorful attracting things are dangerous. Okay. They are taking for their own health. Okay. So this is one part. This provides the color and it is for attracting the insects. Now most of the plants are helping the insects also, but we will see this one part. Some of the flowers are very much colorful, more colorful than the normal flowers. They also attract insects, but then they trap them and they kill them. Okay. So if it is very much interesting or if it is very colorful, then it is not good. Okay. So here we see that there is color also which is coming from chromoplast. Okay. And when they have made the food, they also need some extra storage which is there in form of leucoplast. So it is for the storage of the food. So this leucoplast is colorless. When they have to store their food, they are not attracting anyone towards it. Because if they attract there to the main storage, then there will be loss for them. Okay. Think about this. You are having all the jewelries and you are putting it in a very colorful bag. First of all, the thieves who are there, they will be attracted toward that bag only. Okay. But you have simply kept it in a ordinary looking, very old bag. So then even if a thief is coming to your house, then they will think that nothing useful is there. So here they have a colorless structure where they are storing the food, that is leucoplast. So plants are also very intelligent. Don't think that they are standing there so they are stupid. Yeah. The plants are very intelligent. They have devised each and everything as per them. Like for this photosynthesis, they are having the green pigment which is absorbing the sunlight. Okay. Then for attracting the insects, they are having the chromoplasts. And for storage of the food items, which they don't have to share with others, they are having a colorless structure in form of leucoplast. Okay. So these are three things which are present in plants and some microorganisms. That is also one structure found only in plants and some other organisms, not in animals. Okay. So animals don't make their own food, no matter how much time you spend in sunlight, still you will have to get it from market. Okay. So this is one part. One difference is that in animal cell, we will see that tomorrow, and then we will see this one part, that what is the stem cell, somatic cell and plant and animal cell. Okay. So we will see that tomorrow. But before you go, we will take questions from online section. Okay. Then I will give you one question, then you can leave. Okay. So if there is any question from online section, please ask now. देखो बुक्स की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी आपको, मैं बोल रहा हूं इसको आप बस देखो काफी होगा. अच्छा, you are asking question or telling me that we are animals? Any question from anyone? Cell in plant is the rigid part. Cell wall in the plant is the rigid part. It is responsible for providing the rigidity to the plants. This is the basic part of like cell and other thing. What is the role of rough endoplasmic reticulum? It is responsible for modification of the protein which has been made by ribosome plus additional protein which is required by the cell. 3D images. What you will do in UPSC exam of 3D images? Cell organelle means the components like the, suppose when we are talking about mitochondria, when we are talking about lysosome, all these things are called as cell organelle. How does Golgi body create enzyme for lysosome? Golgi body is also one such cell organelle which has the capacity to synthesize the proteins. Like all these things, endoplasmic also make proteins, Golgi also make proteins. Their proteins are simply called as enzymes. In 3 parents, main feature come from parents. Like 99% of the features will come from parent, 1% will be coming from the donor. Achha, I will show you the pictures also. Tomorrow I will show you the pictures. Achha, rough endoplasmic and smooth endoplasmic. Just let me tell you one simple thing here. When you see this one thing, if there is presence of ribosome, it is called as rough endoplasmic. When there is absence of ribosome, it is called as smooth endoplasmic. So only that difference is there. If there is presence of ribosome over it, it is called as rough. If there is absence of ribosome, it is called as smooth. It is not for mains, this is mainly for the prelims. When we will come to biotechnology, that will be for mains. What is use of rRNA? For the production part. Like it is responsible for the actual synthesis of protein in the ribosome. Semi-permeable and permeable. Permeable simply means that it will allow movement of anything through that boundary or through that membrane. Semi-permeable means it will allow some, it will reject some. Okay, I will add Hindi also. Does this protein made in every section? So protein is made in 3 things: ribosome, endoplasmic, Golgi bodies, and somewhat in mitochondria. When does a chromosome form? During the part of cell division. When cell division is there, then. I am taking questions from your side also. Like whenever I am finishing any topic, I am taking questions from one side also. एक भी % हिंदी यूज नहीं किया, देखो अभी 1% यूज कर लिया. चलो मैं कल से बीच में हिंदी में भी समझा दूंगा, जहां पे आपको जिस टॉपिक में डाउट हो आप पूछ लेना, मैं हिंदी में भी समझा दूंगा. PDF will be there in PDF will be uploaded by the team. Mitochondrial replacement therapy is legalized. Legalized, like in India it has not been done, in UK it has been done. In India there is no regulation which is prohibiting it. Protein synthesis is going on every second, yes. Krebs cycle is the process in which the food which is in the form of glucose is converted in the form of adenosine triphosphate. So that is the entire process in 7 different stages, which is called as Krebs cycle. In between that there is formation of pyruvic acids and other forms, and finally it gets converted into adenosine triphosphate. PYQ we will see. After we are finishing this, we will see the PYQ. देखो, in India, mitochondrial replacement therapy in India has not been done yet. There has been just one case in the entire world, that is in UK. So in India, there is no law which is banning it. but at the same time, if you have to carry out these experiments, you have to take the approval from the government. In India, we are not reaching up to this level where we are going for mitochondrial replacement therapy. Up, like till now, there has been just 1 or 2 cases in United Kingdom only, not even in other countries, just UK. हाँ, ये जो पार्ट है इसको हम लोग कल लिखेंगे. Okay, so let's, any questions from your side? No? Okay. So then let's meet tomorrow and then we will discuss the remaining things. Okay. It is just one question, mitochondrial replacement therapy is risk free or not? See, the thing is, till now there has been no such challenges, but we don't know about the future because the child is of only 5 years till now.